Few other companies have revolutionized the industry as radically as Spotify has revolutionized the music industry. Instead of paying to download every song we want to listen to, Spotify allows us to pay a monthly fee to access an almost unlimited number of songs. Similar streaming services existed before Spotify, but they limited the number of songs you could listen to each month. What made Spotify the undisputed king of music streaming is that it completely removed this limit and allowed people to listen to as many songs as they wanted. This strategy has succeeded in serving more than 574 million monthly active users. Among these, 236 million are premium users who pay monthly fees, and this translates into revenues in the billions in 2023. Spotify reported revenues of over €13.2 billion. As we can see that its revenues have been constantly growing over the past few years. Despite everything, Spotify is facing a problem. It never made a profit in 2023, and the company reported a net loss of over €532 million. How does Spotify continue to lose money so much? The problem starts with Spotify's core business model. Let's take a deeper look. Spotify's business model is very simple. It makes revenue is primarily from two sources: monthly paying users, who account for the majority of their revenue, and advertising on ad-supported subscriptions. Every time a song is streamed, Spotify pays a small fee to the artist or record label. Spotify currently pays between 0.3 to 0.5 cents per stream, and this model, pay per stream, is largely responsible for Spotify's passive net income. Let's examine some possible solutions and evaluate whether they would work. The first and perhaps most obvious solution is just to lower the royalties it pays out. Spotify is the leader when it comes to music streaming, so why doesn't the company use this power to force artists and record companies to accept lower royalty fees? The problem with this idea is that the companies to whom Spotify pays royalties are also very powerful. The music record industry is an oligopoly made up of three large companies: Sony Music, Warner Music Group, and Universal Music Group control over 70% of the music recording industry. Artists sign the rights of their music to these companies in exchange for marketing, promotion, and distribution help. This means that it is these companies that Spotify pays royalties to, and these three companies fiercely fight against any possible decrease in royalty fees, even threatening to remove their music catalogs from Spotify if this decrease were to happen. Having one of these companies pull their content from Spotify would be catastrophic for the company. For example, if Universal Music Group were unhappy with the fee Spotify pays and decided to stop licensing its content to Spotify, music by major artists like Taylor Swift, Drake, Adele, The Weeknd, and many more would no longer be available to stream on Spotify. Overall, Spotify would lose the rights to the entire catalog of 4 million songs owned by Universal. This, in turn, would mean that a huge number of Spotify users would stop using the service and would opt to use one of Spotify's competitors. As this example illustrates, music companies have enormous power over the streaming industry, which makes it difficult for Spotify to negotiate lower royalty fees. Another possible solution for Spotify would be to increase its prices. Based on 2023 numbers, Spotify would turn an operating profit if its revenue grew by just 20%. So why doesn't Spotify just increase its subscription price by 20%? This is also difficult to do considering the competitive landscape of the music streaming industry. The music streaming industry has become quite crowded. Apple Music, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, and Tencent Music are some of the other big players in the industry. Despite this, the industry is very homogeneous. All streaming services have access to all music catalogs. It does not matter whether you use Amazon Music or Spotify, you can listen to any song you want with either service. This means that each streaming player offers an identical service to the other players in the industry, and this is the reason why all these services are priced identically. Since there is no differentiation between these services, customers are quite price sensitive. If Spotify were to increase its subscription price, customers would simply move to another cheaper streaming service. In fact, out of all these major players in the industry, Spotify is perhaps in the worst position for a price increase. Amazon Music and Apple Music are services provided by already profitable companies, meaning that Amazon and Apple can afford to lose money on this service as long as it means that more people are using the Apple or Amazon ecosystem. Additionally, these companies are using music streaming to push their service bundles, which might be more profitable. Apple One is a subscription service that allows users to bundle up to 6 Apple subscriptions: Apple Music, Apple Fitness, Apple TV+, Apple Arcade, Apple News Plus, and iCloud Plus. Apple has combined services that lose money with services that make money to offer a bundle that ideally should generate profits. The same goes for Amazon, which offers a Prime bundle that combines Amazon Music with Prime Delivery, Prime Video, Prime Gaming, and more. Spotify increasing its subscription price would benefit these companies the most because it would mean that more people using Spotify would sign up for another streaming service like Apple Music. These new users would be more exposed to the Apple ecosystem, making them a target for Apple to promote its bundles or even its hardware like the iPhone and the MacBook. As we can see, decreasing costs through lowering royalty fees or increasing revenue by charging higher prices are deeply flawed solutions. This leaves Spotify with one other possible solution: expanding into new markets. This is exactly what the company is trying to do. Spotify's CEO recently claimed that the company is trying to become the largest audio company, spanning audiobooks, education, sports, and news. Spotify has already taken its first steps towards this vision. The company has spent more than $1 billion to build a podcasting empire, making deals with Kim Kardashian, the Obamas, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and Joe Rogan. Part of the company's ambitions in podcasting is to make money from its own shows and expand its advertising revenue by selling ads across other networks and publishers' shows. Spotify has invested heavily in its ad business, including developing technology to insert ads via streaming, which allows it to more precisely track ad impressions and other data, and creating its own ad marketplace, which allows advertisers to buy spots targeting audiences rather than specific shows. But whether this strategy will work remains to be seen. As of this writing, Spotify's podcasting strategy has become somewhat chaotic. Some of their big names have already stopped working with Spotify, and when we look at the company's financials, they suggest that podcasts might not have turned out to be as profitable as the company expected. Spotify is in a very tough position within its industry. On the one hand, the powerful music record companies are eating away at their profitability, and on the other hand, competitors are stagnating Spotify's revenue growth. It will be interesting to see how the company navigates this fragile situation in the future.